So, we reach an end. 2015's last pay-per-view. Let's see if it was any good. Fred here from the CC Network, ready to do my TLC 2015 review. Now, I think we can all agree that we went into this pay-per-view not feeling the happiest we've ever been. We've looked at the build and Raw has been awful. We haven't felt happy about it. So we all thought this pay-per-view would kind of fall by the wayside and end this mixed bag of a year on a complete whimper. Isn't that right? Well, when you actually look at it, I could say that this pay-per-view stood up all right. But let's have a look and see how it was done. The pre-show was kicked off with Sasha Banks, hometown Boston girl, defeating Becky Lynch. And it actually wasn't a bad match. I ended up watching the damn thing. But as you all know, if you've seen one of my videos before, I don't review the pre-show. Let's take a look at the actual matches and see how they went down individually. First off, thankfully, we have the three-way tag team ladder match, which saw the New Day retain their titles against the Usos and the Lucha Dragons. This match was a pretty interesting one. It first off got a 2.5 in psychology. It lacked on body selling, but it told a lot of storytelling through subtle emotions, and of course, Xavier Woods on commentary. Because I knew if he was on commentary, he was going to interfere and help them win, which he did. Which means inevitably the New Day stay as champions, and they somehow managed to get through a match that many thought they would lose, understandably. But the thing is, when you've got a two-face heel dynamic, you need to understand that they're going to win because that's just how it is. Think about it the opposite way. And seeing the face teams after they disposed of the New Day stare each other down and realize, you know what, we've got to face our destiny, we've got to go through you guys, we respect you, but you are standing in the way of our title victory. So they ended up beating the crap out of each other. Speaking of which, these teams beat the crap out of each other whichever way they looked at it. It didn't really follow a same structure of usual ladder matches like this, where one team takes a shot at another team, throw them out, and then go after the other. They all took good shots at each other, making this match feel quick and incredibly aggressive, which I loved. And inevitably, Xavier Woods on commentary again. I have to mention him because he did something that no other commentator really highlights, is that why are these guys putting their bodies through such crap? Think about it. You have Lucha Dragons doing monkey flips and moonsaults and crazy things on and through ladders, and they're wondering, wait a minute, why are you putting your body on the line and hurting yourself? You've got to win here. Which is all well and good. And you know what? There was a little bit of body selling because Kofi Kingston sold that Hurricane Rana from the second rope ladder shot like an absolute boss. His face went straight into that thing and he writhed in pain for ages. But it wasn't done over long term, and he wasn't clutching his face repeatedly afterwards, so maybe there was a negative there. And also Big E was on the outside for ages, apparently resting, but inevitably he hadn't been attacked for quite some time after being thrown out, so inevitably that meant that he was fresher, and Xavier Woods was 100% correct. And like I've already highlighted, they did end up winning because of an interference which was good for story purposes, so I can be happy. There could have been more body selling, and I would have been more happy as a result. Move Variety gets a 4. Now, you know why, if you saw this thing. Look at how this match went down. Sure, I've already mentioned the Hurricane Rana into a second rope ladder, which made Kofi Kingston's face get rearranged. That isn't the only one. There's so much here. Let's check. An overhead belly-to-belly to the ladder by Big E. Sin Cara crushing Kofi under a ladder, just like Shawn Michaels did to Razor Ramon nearly over 20 years ago. A senton over the top rope onto a ladder on the outside by Sin Cara. A rump shaker and a Tree of Woe whack with a ladder by the Usos. A monkey flip 450 splash by Kalisto, which was absolutely fantastic. A crossbody to a ladder-prone Big E on the outside by an Uso from the top rope, and then you get to the best. An Eye-Side DDT, or whatever they call it nowadays for the finishing move of Kalisto, off the top of the biggest ladder in the match, onto a ladder propped up on the second rope. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful, and I marked out like a bitch because it was superb. It was incredible. It was one of those types of ladder spots you've not seen in WWE before, and it'll be remembered for a long time to come. That being said, I would have liked the New Day to have done some double team moves and Big E to do a massive big ending off the top of the damn thing, but you never know, there could have been a little more just to make it better, but what we got was sublime. That's all I can say. Crowd reaction was a 3.5. It took them a while to get into this match, but inevitably, it worked. It worked. These big spots got them into it. They didn't like the fact, like I did, that this match started off quite actually anti-ladder. They weren't going for ladder shots. They were just beating each other up. They weren't even going for the titles for a while. And it worked out nicely, which goes into my match like the pacing, but I'll get to that in a second. Overall, by the end of the match, they were just on their feet cheering, thinking, wow, these guys put on an effort and it was shown. Too bad it took nearly 10 minutes in for them to properly go nuts. But that's just me, I couldn't ask for a lot. The crowd were surprisingly muted for a match that I knew they'd pop for, which is weird. Nonetheless, match length and pacing was a 4. This was a 17 minute and 46 second match. It surprisingly packed a lot into the time it had, and the great thing about it was it inevitably went at a great pace as well. Like I said, they were selling the moves. They were out for a while, the match slowed as the match went on, and I just said match twice or 3 times in a sentence, but who cares? You're watching my video and it all works out. But inevitably, the match was quite slow to begin with, and it didn't have a lot of ladder action going on, which was great, because it meant, hey, these guys want to beat each other up first, which is just what you need to do in a ladder match. Don't just go straight for the ladders and try to climb. That's not worth it. And inevitably, yeah, sure, it descended into ladder match, spot fest chaos, but at least it took its time in trying to pace itself and tell a good story. The only thing I could have needed was without the giant rush towards the end where everybody climbed up, despite noting that they'd been through hell. Seriously. It really didn't show very well, but you can't get everything. Overall, this match was incredibly enjoyable, and I mean that in a very sincere way. It was incredibly spot-filled, it had a good bit of storytelling to it, even though it wasn't the best it could be. It was paced to pretty much perfection, and honestly, if the crowd could have been a little louder, there'd been more body selling, and possibly some blood from Kofi's headshot to that ladder, it could have been 4-star territory, but it's not. It just misses the mark at 3 3/4 stars. And yes, I know, Rico, you are watching, listening to this thing. I know I said 3.5 stars, but come on. When you factor in how well paced and well timed everything was, it just fits together so well that I had to do it. Well, that's a really good start to the show. First big 3-star match I've given in a while, because Survivor Series had none of it. Hopefully, everybody, this keeps the pace going for the whole night, and the next match will deliver just as good. Rusev defeated Ryback in the only match that I left off of my original prediction video, because it wasn't there and I recorded it before SmackDown. But the thing is, yeah, Rusev beat Ryback. Pretty damn good. Nonetheless, the psychology was a 2. The thing is, there wasn't a lot of body selling, but I will give Ryback a lot of credit, especially considering that he did sell being in the Accolade after being knocked out by a stiff kick to the head at the end. And that's all good. He didn't even writhe in agony. He didn't do anything. I'm thinking, yeah, you had your neck strangled on the bottom rope and stomped on repeatedly in preparation for the Accolade. I like that attention to detail there. That's all well and good. But then where does the rest of the psychology come in? Well, it comes in from Ryback, Rusev's aggression. He dominated this match, and he wanted to beat the living crap out of Ryback, and it worked. Then you had the Lana situation. Of course, walking out, feigning injury, just like they had done, and it all played in. It was subtle, but it was fun. And that's what I really enjoyed from this. I would have liked Ryback to have been selling the neck and the shoulders a bit more while he was hopefully to win and go for the shell shock, but he didn't do it, and it kind of made the psychology lower itself for me, but it'll do what it can. Move variety was a 1. There wasn't much here that I could really say was any different from the norm, but I will give Ryback some credit. He press slammed Rusev. Rusev isn't a small guy by any stretch of the imagination, everybody. And that takes a lot of impressive feat to do. Then you got the drop kick. Yeah, Ryback did a top rope drop kick on Rusev. Yeah, was it enough to get this by 0.5 up? No. So unfortunately I can't give it that. Crowd reaction was a 1. I have to admit, they didn't care. They were a bit apathetic towards this match, and honestly, yeah, they were booing Ryback. Were they? Were they booing Rusev? Were they booing the match? They were a bit indifferent. I couldn't tell if they were just basically doing X-Pac heat by saying, get the hell off my TV, I don't want to see you. Inevitably, it did kind of sully the match a little bit, because Rusev was doing a good job, and yeah, they didn't care at all. Match length and pacing was a 2. This match went for just under 8 minutes, and overall, Rusev's domination, it kept the pace quite steady. I was surprised. But inevitably, the match went just long enough. It was getting to a point at its end where I thought, okay, you're now bordering the line between long enough to make me bored and it was just getting annoying for me. But luckily, they cut it off right at the point where they needed to. They built Rusev up, they had Ryback have his fight back, and then it got completely taken away. That's just what they needed to do, and that's fine. And also, to point this out, Rusev kept the pace. I've normally in the past lampooned this guy repeatedly for being a match that is repeatedly slow. But the fact that he kept up the pace and kept it quite steady and actually quite quick was a good thing. Inevitably, because Ryback can't keep pace in a match too, so you thought one of them had to carry the other in terms of pace, and Rusev did it. And it was to this match's benefit as well. Overall, I'm really happy that this match at least cleared one thing up, because I really couldn't tell at some points in the build-up whether who was the heel in all this, because you were thinking, oh, Ryback's being a dick, but inevitably look at what Rusev and Lana are doing. This is what happens when you end up missing parts of Raw because you're disgusted with the product at the moment. You miss out on elements of the story that don't really give you much context. And the thing is, the match actually did a lot that I expected it to do. It made Rusev and Lana look strong, which is exactly what it needed to do, and it made him look better when he came out to help Sheamus at the end. This match did exactly what it should have done, which is great, but it wasn't a brilliant match, and it is a 1-star match as a result. Barely a 1-star. I could have been cruel and lowered it, but hey, I was feeling kind after the match I saw prior, and I thought it would work out nicely. So, there you go, Ryback. I praised you. Hopefully that's all I need to do, because you need to improve your stuff. Rusev, on the other hand, keep going. This should only be the beginning, and I'm liking what I'm seeing. Now we reach the chairs match for the United States Championship, with Alberto Del Rio retaining his title against Jack Swagger. This match shouldn't be taking very long to do, because I really didn't like this one. The psychology had some decent elements in it, a 1.5 for good reason, because both men dueled aggressively out the gate, swinging chairs at each other. Jack Swagger rammed Del Rio into chairs angrily because he's doing it for Zeb. Yay, all's good. Then we have Del Rio targeting Jack Swagger's back with a backstabber, hacking at it with chairs, whether it's on the ground or seated on the second turnbuckle, which is a great move, by the way, and of course, going with a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker as well. The thing is, that would work out brilliantly if Jack Swagger would have actually sold it. Yeah, you're running from one side of the ring to the other, hitting multiple Swagger bombs, and yet you're not holding your back while running, and then holding your back while pinning him either. It made my disbelief really, really go. But I could not suspend my disbelief anymore, because you should be in pain having been hit with that many chair shots. That's all I'm saying, everybody. It just did not look good at all. Then you got an unprotected chair shot to Del Rio's head, which should mean that Jack Swagger should get fined quite a bit of money, because if you don't, that's a bit of hypocrisy, considering that Taker and Triple H did it at WrestleMania 27 and got fined. Nonetheless, being hit upside the head with a chair accidentally must have done something to Del Rio's head, because he covered Jack Swagger with chairs on the outside. And then he put him back in the ring for no reason. You could have just left him out there and have him counted out. He didn't do it, and it was weird. And then, of course, then you have the Patriot Lock in the ankle, on the chair as well. I'm thinking, Del Rio, you're not selling that thing. You sell it after the match, but that's when it doesn't matter to me anymore, so you've done bad. So you can see what I mean. There's some body selling, there's some aggression in there, but it's undermined repeatedly. The move variety. It got a 1.5 because of that Patriot Lock in a chair. It didn't look very painful because it wasn't locked in properly. Enough said. The cross-arm break on the rope with no rope breaks, ingenious move. The whacking of the chairs in the back on the second turnbuckle, again, I loved that, but there's very little. And then, of course, you have double stomp on the chairs too, but like I said, there's a very little amount of move variety there, and it all had to involve chairs. Couldn't have done something a bit risky, I don't know. The crowd reaction, they were booing this thing. They did not care in the slightest, because no one cares about chair matches. And they chanted for CM Punk, they were that apathetic. Good God. The match like the pacing was a 1. This match had a steady pace. It had good momentum shifts, but it was undone. Undone by its length. This match could have been done in 5-6 minutes, not double that. It didn't need that much. It really didn't. And it wasted my time as a result. And overall, I look at this match and go, there was just enough for me to take it above the 0, because I would have given this a 0, because the chair matches, like the stair matches of last year, just don't work. A chair match is just a no-holds-barred street fight with just chairs. It doesn't really work as a concept. And I look at this and think, okay, this match wasn't very good, but at least he tried. At least both men tried. But unfortunately, it just wasn't enough. But it was just enough for me to give it a 1/4 of a star. The tiniest of little things. There was the move variety, the psychology, the little bits of pacing. It did just enough. Let's hope the next match can improve on that. Now we have the 8-man tag team elimination tables match where the Wyatt family defeated the ECW originals. And I have a huge problem with this. You see, how can an elimination table match be boring? How can an elimination table match not really be exciting? Well, there's a lot of ways you can go about it. First off, the psychology, which is probably the saving grace of this match. When you think about it, weapons are just piled in all over the place because ECW guys, that's what they do. They go and get the weapons because they want to hurt people. And that's exactly what happened. All the ECW members ended up whacking Strowman with pretty much everything, backing him into a corner and wailing on him, which is great because he's the biggest guy in the match. He will cause you problems. You attack him? I am loving this. Then, of course, you got Bubba Ray Dudley being beaten down by all the Wyatt members. He then fights back with massive kendo sticks. Everything about that worked. And of course, it came back to a huge pop as well, which is brilliant. Bubba Ray Dudley, at the end of the match, though, he was on his own, of course. He was eliminated. Everyone else was eliminated, and he was on his own. He thought, screw it. I might as well go down with a fight here, and decided to punch the living crap out of everybody before going for the lighting of the flaming table, which honestly was fantastic because it was a great rehash to what he used to do. And it was great because it made me think, well, they're pulling out all the stops, a flaming table on pay-per-view, I can be happy with that. But that's it, really. It was mostly shown in the actions of the wrestlers. There wasn't really a lot of body selling, and honestly, I look at some of the eliminations and they just weren't very good. I look at the move variety for a legit statement of that. There were botches. And I'm not telling about one botch. This entire match felt ridiculously sloppy. Okay, and it was not just because, oh, these guys are old men trying to fight people who are traditionally quite slow in the ring, surrounded by tons of weapons. The botch in particular was Rowan missing his table elimination spot. The table broke anyway, he had to be 3D'd through another one, and it showed where the match was going. You combine that with Bubba Ray Dudley going for a headshot with a trash can, and then remembering midway through, oh shit, I can't actually go for this, dropping it, and then realizing, oh god, Strowman missed his cue to punch him. He missed the cue to punch that trash can right in his face, and he did it later than he should have, and it looked really bad. You then look at Luke Harper eliminating Rhino. He literally just kicked him slightly. There was no malice in it. And that could be psychology based more than move variety, but this entire match was sloppy. And to think, the match length and pacing was a 1.5 because it had a fluid momentum shifting throughout. It kept a steady pace despite being sloppy, which is weird. I don't understand how that's possible. But then we get to the crowd, which was interesting because they were hot. hot as hell when this match began because they were chanting ECW. They were living the dream of the nostalgias. They were loving it. Then it died down upon realizing that this match was not all it cracked up to be. Even with a cheese grater coming out, they popped, but they didn't pop for long. The flaming table spot, though, that did bring them back, but they didn't like the fact it wasn't even lit. And I don't even know if that was actually a legit botch or just something they did intentionally. I don't know at this point. But I look at this match and think, this was a match that went on for nearly 13 minutes. Had multiple men and multiple ways of eliminating each other. Luke Harper did a great suicide dive to eliminate Tommy Dreamer on the outside, but apart from that, and apart from the opening and final minutes, this match had a giant lull that just did not pick up. It did somewhat decently in terms of its psychology because of how it was executed in actions and facial reactions, but that was it. This match had very little to work on, but the thing is, I want to be nice to it because it did enough. It made the Wyatts look strong, and it made the ECW originals look fighting going into it and out of it. That's all it needed to do. I just wish that the match did more, had bigger risks taken, did things with itself, and actually had brawling, and actually felt more like a war zone than what it actually looked like, which was a sloppy, uncoordinated mess. Even though it was that, it still gets 1 star. 1 star. Because again, I'm feeling nice. It improved on the last one, but damn, I would have expected a bit more. Now, the Intercontinental Championship match where Dean Ambrose defeated Kevin Owens. And alas, my prediction streak was over. Yay. Nonetheless, everybody, psychology was a 2. And I'm looking at Kevin Owens once again for doing what Jericho did so well as a heel. And that's just bragging and showing his balls. Not literally, but through his speech, saying, hey, who's crazy now, Dean? Calling the referee and Cole an idiot, telling the ref to shut up. It was great. And he ends up saying, yeah, you know what? I'm better than you, damn it. And that's exactly what you need from him. Then it gets even more fun when you have the bottom rope save from the Dirty Deeds, which one finger, heightening the drama, when up to that point this match was quite tense. Sure, we had Ambrose kicking out of the steamroller, which made Owens flip everything, and inevitably said to Cole and the ref, this is for you, Cole, I'm going to win this for you. And I was like, okay. Inevitably, that one finger save brought this match alive, and according to Jimmy Corderas, it's 100% legit. You can do it. And I love it that he actually went to Twitter to confirm it, otherwise it wouldn't have been as amazing. But inevitably, it was great drama that kind of gave this match a conclusion where the fans were into it. Speaking of which, they slowly got into it. It got a 2 because by the end of it, they were full on into it. They didn't like the mat work that kind of slowed the match down a bit, but inevitably, they wanted Owens to win, and they were so happy when it did that you couldn't put them down for it. By the time Ambrose and the momentum shifts were all going through, they didn't care, and they were cheering like they should have. Speaking of which, I look at the match like the pacing and say, yeah, back and forth momentum shifts. It continued everywhere, overall keeping a pace that was solid. It wasn't overly quick when it didn't need to be, and I felt, okay, this could have done alright. But I look at the time that it had, 10 minutes. You could have put this on for at least 6 minutes more, and it would have achieved its goal, and it wouldn't have looked rushed in the process. I'm just saying, it looked rushed. Because they looks like with Kevin Owens matches, he tells a story through slowly wearing the opponent down, then doing every risk in the book to put them away, and then the opponent fights back, then they both fight back to the point where you don't know who is going to win off it, which made this entire finish look rushed. And I'm thinking, give it time and this match could have been brilliant, but they didn't. They gave more time to Del Rio's swagger, which could have been put on this match and made better. But inevitably, it did what it could in the time, and I have to give it points for that. Then the move variety. The only thing I gave anything for was the fallaway slam by Owens into the barricade. That was it. And I look at this match and think it had the potential for so much more. In fact, it was worse than the match at Survivor Series, which honestly says a lot, really, because I didn't think that this match would be less than that. But I don't know if this match was given as much time as that match was, and inevitably was given more time to really prove itself and tell more of its story, I would have been more happy with it. But it did enough. Ambrose won the title. Owens still looked strong because the win looked fluky. And in all fairness, the match delivered on what little I wanted of it. You know, it delivered on the bare minimum, and for that I had to give it some props. A 1 3/4 star match. I may be being kind again, but this show did everything just right at this point. And that's the thing. If you do what the match is set out to do, then you're going to get points. Enough said. Then again, I wish this match was a lot better. I really do, because it could have been match of the night, but alas, it wasn't. Next, with a Divas Championship match, with Charlotte defeating Paige to retain the title in another match that I got wrong. I am not very good at predicting these things, am I? Nonetheless, Psychology was a 2.5, and this one slowly built itself up once again, with Paige doing what I believed would have been good in taking Charlotte out and showing her aggression, just like Survivor Series, where Charlotte did the exact same thing throughout the match. And inevitably, Charlotte was like, you may be aggressive, you may get the support of the fans behind you, but I don't care. I'm going to sarcastically applaud and go, yay, you love Paige, I'm Charlotte, yay. And it was just kind of funny to see it. Lovely. Then we get to Ric Flair, who of course is outside there supporting his daughter, and he tries to take the turnbuckle pad off. And he gets admonished by the referee and his daughter, because she's just going, whoa, hold on a minute, I can win this. Stand back, don't get yourself thrown out, just watch and enjoy. All's well and good. And then Paige, trying to rub the salt in, goes for the figure 4. And that's lovely, because yeah, you want to insult a person's legacy? Do it by using your dad's finisher. Lovely. And of course, I would have liked it if going for the knee and hitting that turnbuckle post figure 4 that Charlotte's done in recent matches would have been great, but they decided to break that up for whatever reason. Then you have both women selling the exhaustion of the match well, because this match looked like a fair fight. They were really going at it. But then, of course, you got Ric Flair on the outside, who just takes everything into different proportions. He takes the turnbuckle pad off, and no one seems to care. And then Charlotte uses said turnbuckle to win. Not long after Ric Flair put his daughter's foot on the rope and helped her stay in to do it. I'm thinking, yep, he just helped her win. Again. This time on a bigger stage. This could be interesting. But overall, I would have liked more body selling. I would have liked just more of what Paige could offer. This match was entirely Ric Flair, and it built up slowly. It felt natural for his involvement to happen because he didn't do it from the get-go. He just slowly did it, going, oh, whoa, hold on, Charlotte's in trouble here. Let's just help her a little bit. Oh, no, referee, I'm not doing anything. Let's just do it. And it kind of just made me feel, hey, Ric Flair's just an old man looking after his daughter, and it just made it funny for some reason, but it told the story correctly. Because now, where are we going from here? Let's find out in the next coming weeks. Move variety, there was nothing apart from a swinging second rope neckbreaker by Charlotte, which looked pretty sick. Apart from that, there wasn't much else to say. Crowd reaction was interesting, because I thought after the last time these two fought at Survivor Series, where the crowd didn't care, that these two would just not get the reaction. I'll admit they didn't get most of one, but by the time this match ended and Rick was getting involved, they were thinking, you know what, I've got to support Nate, let's cheer. And they grew in some antagonism, but the near falls did help. Lots of near falls, but the mat work that put the match's pace early on didn't help. Speaking of which, a 2.5 pacing. This match went for 4 minutes shorter than its Survivor Series counterpart and made up for it. It told its story in the time, which is where most of the rating comes from, and even though there was regular momentum shifts and both women got offense, retaining a relatively steady pace going through the mat work, it looked like a even contest, up until Flair got involved, like I've already said, and that made it work as a match. Then again, I look at my enjoyment of it all and say, the match entertained. Because you were looking there going, okay, who is going to win here? Are they going to put the title on Paige? Or are they going to use Flair to help her win? But how are they going to do it? And it was making me think, okay, I'm more interested, not in the match per se, but how this match is going to be done. And when I look at it, it did exactly what it needed to do. Once again, another match on this card did exactly what it needed to. It needed to make Paige look like a babyface. Check. It needed to make Charlotte look like a heel. Check. It needed to make Ric Flair, even though he's a bit old and a bit mad, look like he knew what he was doing. Check. I mean, and they needed to make it different from the first match they had at Survivor Series. Check. They swapped the alignment around and they swapped who would be doing most of the aggression. That is good. This match did the bare that I wanted it to do. Again. But inevitably, it was entertaining just enough. A 2-star match. It had a lot going on, and inevitably it kept me entertained. That's all I need, but it could have been quite a bit better if given just amount of time, just amount of crowd reaction, and inevitably more moves. Because I'm starting to realise a pattern here, and it's not very good. Nonetheless, another Divas match on pay-per-view delivers. Second half of the year wins, everybody. Woo! Finally, we reach the main event. The tables, ladders, and chairs match for the world title, in which Sheamus won against Roman Reigns. Thing is, this match, a lot of people were going into it thinking, oh, the crowd are going to absolutely crap on it. It's going to be awful. It contains 2 people we don't want to see. How awful. They all said it, including me partially, because I didn't give it much time thinking, you know what? I know where this match is going to go. They need to convince me it's worth my time. And boy, did they. A 3.5 first on the psychology, because Roman Reigns didn't waste any time. He sucker punched Sheamus out of the bell, and it was brilliant. I didn't like that the commentators were emphasising the bruise, but maybe they were highlighting how, one, tough Sheamus is, and second, how ballsy Reigns was for attempting it. All well and good, I can give that something. Sheamus, his body was showing welts and bleeding and everything, which is actually one of the benefits of not having fake tan all over yourself, because you can show physical punishment so much better. I love that he has his body as is, because it's wonderful. Now, both men were showing the wear of their punishment. This match had great pacing because it slowed to the point where they could only hit 1 or 2 moves before slumping down again. They were showing the physical effects. They were groggy, they were panting, they were walking slowly. It was brilliant. And I can't go wrong with that. Then again, Reigns no-sold the white noise through the table straight afterwards by crawling quite quickly up to Sheamus, who looked bemused going, what the hell are you doing? And then decided to punch him through some more. Which you would do because, come on, this guy's inhuman. You might as well give it a shot. And the frustration was just brilliant. The commentators then emphasising that, hey, it was a ladder match that put Sheamus out on the shelf and he couldn't wrestle for 6 months. So yeah, he has to be a bit more careful going through this match. And then he goes through a table arm first off the apron. Not table, but a ladder, sorry. So it makes it even more fun. The commentators are emphasising how severe this is. They're saying how Sheamus is hurt. And to make it even better, when he takes Reigns off the ladder, he goes up selling the right arm because it's so wonderful. And you know what's surprising? Prior to that, this match took nearly, I would dare say, 15 minutes for either man to go up and get the belt. They wanted to hurt each other so bad. It was, so good. Then we have the League of Nations coming out. And I'm thinking, they're telling the story just right. And I can't go wrong with that. And inevitably, it works. He gets screwed. But I don't like how Reigns is fighting back from everything. He's not Dean Ambrose, for God's sake. That's in his character. To see Reigns do it? And that's when most of this match loses its psychology factor. Because even though he did only hit 1 or 2 moves before slumping down again, he got up just as quickly. And I'm thinking, come on. You were hit with a white noise through a table. You were hit off a ladder multiple times. Come on. Show the wear. Sheamus can show it on his body and through psychology. Why are you not doing it? You're not Dean Ambrose. You can't just fight back because you are a psychotic lunatic. It annoyed me, and it really did, because it made the psychology of this match lose the suspension of disbelief, and that's not a good thing. But he did struggle to climb up the ladder while Sheamus pulled the title off, so I can give some plaudits for trying at the end there. And then, of course, the beatdown Triple H was amazing afterwards, but we will get to that when I discuss the final thoughts. Now, move variety was a 2.5. There wasn't really that much to really go through here, but Reigns got put through 2 tables. A drive-by got countered with a clothesline perfectly propping Reigns up on the apron, which, attention to detail, you can't go wrong. The white noise through the table, which I already highlighted, I think. If I haven't, then I've just made a mistake. Oh no. Then you have a roll through into a lifting drop onto a ladder by Reigns, which was lovely. A leaping Superman punch with a chair to the face, which again makes me say, hey, calm down, you don't want to lose 50 grand here. Then in came the Superman punch, jumping up off the ladder, causing Sheamus to go through a table. Stunning. And of course, I've already mentioned the ladder spot on the outside as well. There was enough here to keep me entertained, and overall it worked. But then we get to that crowd. I mentioned them already because they are the important factor, because I said in my predictions, and also going into it, that this crowd would be the defining factor on whether this match fails or not. And look at what happened. They were chanting, "We want Cena," and "We miss Rollins," Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, NXT. They were chanting everything under the sun. They didn't care. But then in came something amazing. The crowd were won over by the physicality of this match. They loved watching these two put on a war against each other. And inevitably, by the time the match came round, they actually respected it. They didn't care if Reigns won this thing. Sure, they knew the match was going to end with a screwy finish, and they booed it because of how predictable it was, which was great. But by the end of it, Reigns was getting cheered. Reigns was getting respect. They liked the fact that not only he lost, but he did it putting up a fight. Because in Boston, if there's anything they love more, it's putting up a fight. And that is exactly what he did to get the crowd on his side. And when he went up there to grab that belt, he was being cheered. And then, of course, he attacked Triple H afterwards, and that made it even better. But, of course, that doesn't factor into the match, of course. But all in all, if they didn't prove to be idiots by chanting for things that are completely irrelevant, this crowd would have been higher than this. They would have been possibly a 3.5, and then you'd be looking at a much better rating. The match length and pacing, a 4. This was the best match of pacing of the evening, because it was done superbly. It went for 23 minutes, possibly 24 minutes, and I've already mentioned how these two sold it so well that the pace ended up slowing to the match's benefit. I'm sorry, but I love that attention to detail. You can't just have a match where you do spot after spot after spot and nothing happens. You need to tell that story. And to have it go for 23 minutes and be very slow because of the wear and tear, that's brilliant. It's brilliant. And, okay, I have to admit, Roman Reigns did cause the pace to randomly speed up towards the end like every ladder match does. But at least it took its time beforehand, and I can give it props for that. I really can. I could have given it a 5 if only it went for 30. If it went even longer, say, with the Usos and Ambrose helping, and it then caused a problem where I'm like, who is going to win this thing? Because I have no clue at this point. Then it would have gone on longer, it would have made the pace speed up and slow down again, and it would have been perfect. And overall, the enjoyment of this match was heightened actually by a couple of other things, with a climb faster sign put up when Reigns was going up, which is brilliant. We got a smart present. Then we had Reigns saving JBL's hat from being stomped on, which was lovely. And of course, I have to wonder if the 10 beats that preceded the move on the ladder on the outside would actually work, considering Roman Reigns has a bulletproof vest. It doesn't make sense, but I love it nonetheless. Oh, it's brilliant. But nonetheless, this match impressed me because I really wasn't expecting anything from it. I was thinking, okay, I know how it's going to end, but I want the middle part of this to really be something interesting. And you know what it did? It made me have sympathy for Roman Reigns by the end of it, and inevitably it proved to be much more exciting than I ever thought it could be. Which, when you look at it, is actually quite impressive. And I'm looking at this thinking, this match did exactly what it needed to do. It kept Reigns strong, Sheamus won with a screwy victory, and they won the crowd over. But they did it in a brilliant way. So overall, what am I giving this? If it wasn't for the crowd and a bit of move variety being a lot higher for more risks being taken, then I could have given it more. But the thing is, I'm giving this match a 3.25 star rating. This match showed once again that Roman Reigns, on a big match situation, can deliver. He did it at Hell in a Cell. He did it at WrestleMania. He can do it. Given the right circumstance, he can make a match good. And so can Sheamus. He did brilliantly. It just needed more to put it above the main attraction ladder match at the beginning. Which once again makes me wonder, this card has been sandwiched by 2 good matches. Will that be good enough to give it a good rating? Well, now it's time for my final thoughts. This pay-per-view, I am going to say it again, like I said in the intro, we all went in with the lowest of expectations. Not to mention the fact that I went in thinking, it has to continue the cycle of bad pay-per-view, good pay-per-view. It has to live up to that. And you know what? It did. This show surprised me, because not only did the matches actually do what they were supposed to do, and do it in a way where I wasn't completely and utterly raging at the prospect, it actually proved to be a very entertaining night, because there was some story here. These matches had to do what I hoped no wrestling event would ever do, and that's have to go into a show with very little story to work with and end up trying to amplify it. They didn't do it in all the cases, but at least they tried, which means I can give WWE props. When you've also got 2 matches getting above 3 stars and a couple of others getting near 2, it actually shows off to be a very decent show indeed. But when I say decent, I look at the overall night and think to myself, they could have done a lot more if they'd built up enough beforehand. If they'd taken more risks in other matches and cut some shorter, they could have made it better. Overall though, when you compare it to last year's TLC, this was watchable, this was palatable, this was entertaining to a sense. And inevitably, this is where I compare it to. I look at TLC from last year, which was an abortion of an event, and think, it removed the stairs, it gave me feuds where I at least had interest, and inevitably they all did something that they needed to do and they didn't make it boring. What more could I ask for? And this pay-per-view year ended once again with a pay-per-view that I felt landed on good. It was a show that I could watch and feel happy in watching, and with decent matches scattered throughout that didn't lose purpose, I found myself thinking, WWE, you actually did something I never expected. You took my expectations for a pay-per-view that I knew wouldn't go very high and raised them to a level where I was satisfied. Satisfied enough to think it is a painfully but lovingly average show. It's a show that had its positives and its negatives, and they all kind of cancel each other out. So I can't really go too far. It is a pay-per-view that I won't remember outside of the giant huge beatdown that Roman Reigns gave Triple H, which was incredible. And inevitably, I look at this upcoming year in 2016 and think, this is a nice little platform to continue from. Use this as a way of making your product entertaining again. Because everyone was saying to you, you can't make entertaining television now. You put on a relatively entertaining pay-per-view against all negative criticism. That is showing good work. And I am therefore giving TLC 2015 a very average but very good 5 out of 10. It did what it needed to do, it gave us better stories for feuds going forward, and I can be happy at that. Let's just hope that for the 3rd year going, the Rumble isn't bad. Because I really am hoping we don't have to rely on one good match to save the Royal Rumble in 2016. Let's hope they know what they're doing. And there we go, guys. Whew. That pay-per-view took me a while to go through. Even with 7 matches on the card, it still goes nearly an hour because my reviews do that. Nonetheless, what did you all think about TLC? Do you think it was good enough for a 5 out of 10? Was it worse? Were you like an internet smark who just crapped on it because they felt like it? Put your comments down in the comment section and it will be lovely to read them. And if you like this video and want to see more, the like button is there to be clicked and there is a subscribe button to keep up with everything that is happening over the course of the next week or 2 here on the channel. I'm going to be in a bit of a rushed mood to get a lot of videos out, including a Christmas Day upload of the Friday flashback review of December to Dismember 2006. And you all, wrestling fans alike, are going to love it that I get this show to look at, because you're going to listen and think, well, this guy really, is he going to like this show? I review wrestling, do you really think I would? Nonetheless, that's something for you all to look forward to as a Christmas present. For those of you who aren't that interested in pro wrestling, I have some more Wind Waker playthroughs coming, and I have an MLP countdown to satisfy all the bronies out there. Also, because I have to say this before I go, be on the lookout for me. Be on the lookout for this sign, which is again popping up on the screen, which is so much win here. If you see that during NXT TakeOver London, you know that's me, and say so on the Twitter sphere out there. In fact, if you want to keep up with everything this channel does, Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, the lot. And of course, keep an eye out for the blog, because that's where the review is first. If you've had to wait 3 or 4 days to listen to my TLC thoughts, you could have read them on the blog at least a few days ago, and it would have been great. Nonetheless, that's all I need to say. I'm going to get out of here. I've got a lot of videos to do. Let's hope I can do them, because Christmas isn't too far away, and that's my deadline. Ugh. Let's hope that this period is all well and good. I have been Freddie Thomas, you've been people listening. This has been my Tables, Ladders and Chairs prediction. Oh, no, I'm not repeating that again. My TLC review, there we go, shows how tired I am. And inevitably, I will see you all next time. Cheers!